Question. P.S. If a times b is smaller than 0, which of the following must be true? Option 1. Absolute value of a minus b is greater than absolute value of a plus b. Option 2. A minus b is greater than 0. Option 3. Absolute value of a is greater than absolute value of b. Solution. Cases where absolute values are same as squares. There are areas where the absolute values can be taken as squares. Absolute value of a times b equals absolute value of a times absolute value of b. Absolute value of a over b equals absolute value of a over absolute value of b. And a squared equals absolute value of a squared equals absolute value of a times a equals absolute value of a times absolute value of a equals absolute value of a squared. The first property of inequality. Multiplying or dividing by positive numbers does not change the direction of the inequality sign. Positive rule in inequality. That is, if a is greater than b, then a times x is greater than b times x, and a over x is greater than b over x, where x is greater than 0. We are required to find the options that are true if a times b is smaller than 0. Option 1. Absolute value of a minus b is greater than absolute value of a plus b. Using cases where absolute values are the same as squares, we can square the inequality absolute value of a minus b is greater than absolute value of a plus b. Absolute value of a minus b squared is greater than absolute value of a plus b squared. Or a minus b whole squared is greater than a plus b whole squared. To get a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared is greater than a squared plus 2 times a times b plus b squared. Negative 2 times a times b is greater than 2 times a times b, or 0 is greater than 4 times a times b. If we divide this inequality by 4, we get a times b is smaller than 0 by the first property of inequality, positive rule in inequality. Thus, this option is true. Option 2. A minus b is greater than 0. If a equals negative 3 and b equals 2, then a times b equals negative 3 times 2 equals negative 6 is smaller than 0. However, a minus b equals negative 3 minus 2 equals negative 5 is smaller than 0. Thus, this option is not always true. You should consider the case where you get a negative number to contradict the inequality in the option. Option 3. Absolute value of a is greater than absolute value of b. If a is equal to negative 2 and b is equal to 3, then a times b equals negative 2 times 3 equals negative 6, which is smaller than 0. However, absolute value of a is equal to absolute value of negative 2 equals 2, which is smaller than absolute value of b, which equals absolute value of 3, which equals 3. Thus, this option is not true. Thus, only option 1 is true and A will be the correct answer. Answer A.